The year is 2021. Bleach's return was just announced, and since then, it has been a non-stop roller coaster of pure enjoyment for Bleach fans, spanning a total of 38 TYBW episodes already, with more to come, a console game, and 2 new gacha games. Now, while the second one is being a turn-based game with little info, Bleach Soul Resonance is currently in its first beta test since the alpha test in mid-2023, and after over 25 hours of playing, I do have a lot of thoughts about the game. Mostly positive, but there are some negative critiques that do need to be made. Bleach Soul Resonance specifically is a game you guaranteed want to try out, and that is mainly for Bleach fans. I really believe that if you are a Bleach fan, you will thoroughly enjoy this game, and it will most likely come out at the end of 2025. Now, everything I enjoy from this game will be laid out alongside my reasons for enjoying them, but inversely, the things that need work will also be discussed. Please check the timestamps on screen right now to see what you are interested in, and let's get into it. So, just real quick, I'm coming into this game after grinding Wuthering Waves, coming back and grinding it daily for many hours and experiencing what I consider to be the peak of gacha gaming. Now, objectively, I gotta say this is a downgrade, but it does not take away from the game at all. Just, I need to preface that I may have a bit of a bias towards Wuthering Waves. Now, I will mention other gacha games in this video. I'm gonna be making a lot of callbacks, especially to Wuthering Waves, to see what this game should improve, or just to make comparisons to ease you guys into the game, because this is both a review and also just a summary of what the game is. Now, I put a lot of work into this video, so let me know if you appreciate this type of content in the comments, and let me know your thoughts on the game itself. Anything from what you like, what you dislike, what you find interesting, what you hope the game will have, let me know down below. Like and subscribe if you have not yet. Hit that notification bell, and without further ado, let's get into it. Now, as Bleach is an incredibly long anime and manga, you grow to love the places that Ichigo visits, from his house to the Soul Society as a whole. And me particularly, I even enjoyed the sewers that Ichigo and Hanataro were in. All these locations, among dozen others, are in our heads forever. One thing I enjoyed in this game especially was exploring all of the areas and knowing that only more will come as we progress further and get more regions. And this will become more important later, but one of the best things in the game is that this game isn't restricted by a weapon structure of polearms, weapons, bows, catalysts, etc, etc. Now, this is important because every character has their specific weapon in the game, right? All you need to do is add on a stamp that is not like a weapon. So no matter what, you are going to be seeing Zangetsu, right? You are going to be seeing Benihime. You are not going to be seeing any random weapon. Now, while most characters do have their Zanpakutos, this allows those odd characters like Yoruichi, Chad, or Hime, Nemu, and others to hold their unique fighting style, and this becomes important when, in the future, we'll get more Quincy's as we head into Thousand Year Blood War arc, and many will use more than just their bows, and this will be good, because without the solid weapon structure, it allows for a lot more freedom, and for the game to feel unique in its fighting style. Now, one thing I do want to say in this part of the video, the game has managed to feel like an enhancement of the base IP, especially the anime. Kuba has given incredible style with the use of negative space to the manga, but the anime can definitely be lacking, as obviously it was week to week. Most of the cutscenes in this game may be lacking to current 2025 standards, but for a recreation of the original IP, I find myself enjoying a lot of the cutscenes, but we'll get into that more later in the story section of the video. Now, as some cutscenes play in the back, to give you an idea of how they look, I want to highlight the importance of enhancing an IP when making a gacha game. I'll give 2 examples from games I've covered in the past, the ones I've covered the most extensively. Black Clover Mobile with over 1,000 videos, and Jujutsu Kaisen I think with over 500 videos. Both of these games use their anime IPs as a crutch. For JJK, instead of selling any form of good content or power creep, they instead only sell the fact that you want a specific unit. And this is a fact and not speculation. Okay, I want to make sure that's clear, because as a free-to-play unit that was released over a year ago, named Mahito, he still remains meta and lets you clear all of the hardest content in the game with relatively free-to-play units. The content never feels like the selling point in that game, but it's more so new units. Now for Black Clover Mobile, what they would do is resell units and seasonal skins, which ended up, ironically enough, being one of their downfalls. They thought they would sell the characters, but instead people were bored by rehashes of the 5th unit in a row of Noelle or Asta or Yuno. Where Bleach differs is with all the things mentioned and things coming up, it takes the base IP of Bleach, and instead of using it as a crutch, the developers use it as a boost to the game, where they take all the aspects from Bleach that we love to make it an even better game instead of allowing themselves to fall back on the idea that people will stay simply because it is Bleach. The combat has been one of the most enjoyable things for me in this game, and in this section the most important parts will be highlighted, and those will be a breakdown of the system, how it plays into the base story content, and also game modes. The game consists of the same amount of skills as Weathering Waves: a normal attack, combat skill, ultimate. Besides that, it also has a flash step, which is essentially this game's dodge. You could go for perfect dodges, and a parry button. This is the exact same as Weathering Waves, even including something resembling a concerto system, which I will dub branch attack. I'm not sure of the exact name. Chinese beta, remember, but you know, I'm pretty sure it is a branch attack is what they call it. Now, after meeting with the prerequisites of whichever unit you're using, you will have an additional skill that launches for Kisuke when he uses his combat skill, and after doing a certain amount of normal attacks, he will build up a stack to let him do a branch attack, being a slash forward. Then, for Bankai Ichigo, after doing a certain attack string, he can then combo it into a flurry of slashes. While not every unit has it, it is quite a plentiful ability in the game, and I would say most of the units that I use end up having it, right? The only thing that we can say differs from Weathering Waves is actually the addition of another skill, and sometimes the use of a third skill. The additional skill can be used in mono teams when you have 2 units of the same color, and right now only 5 units have that ability. Off the top of my head, it would be Uryu, Rukia, Byakuya, and I forgot the other 2. So when the gauge is full, you'll be able to attack even off field, like Rukia's. And then the other type of ability that I mentioned previously is in the case of Bankai Ichigo and Toshiro in his Bankai state, which is his ultimate. Both their ultimates, when you are in them, for Ichigo it's his hollow form, will let them do an attack that is essentially just a parry. You press the same button and it is the exact same parry skill without having to parry. So essentially they do gain an extra attack skill for you to use. And this is essentially what encompasses the whole combat system. You got essentially 5 main buttons, and with the 5 subunits, which allow you, if you have a mono team, a 6th button is added. Now, I would definitely say that this is an important talking point. So real quick, people are saying that it is not enough skills. It's not enough buttons. This mostly comes from a comparison to One Piece Fighting Path, but honestly, having 2 quick time events in flash steps with perfect dodges and parrying, the game feels fast-paced enough. And in the future, they could easily add more units with more skills. So I do not think it is a problem, but as of right now, I have not had any troubles with a lack of buttons. It is mainly the Chinese player base that has already tried Fighting Path that finds this, but that game doesn't even have a parry system. So there are things that we could compare to the two. So I would definitely say, as of right now, the skills are enough, and some even get extra skills, and most likely will get more in the future, of course. Now, the combat does feel quite good alongside challenging content, which the story actually has. There's 3 difficulties: normal, hard, and very hard. The challenge comes in very hard missions. Now, one of them is where you're racing against the clock and have to beat the stage in 90 seconds. Usually, your HP will be scaled down, and that means you could be one-tapped and fall under the mission of being above 60% HP and instantly have to restart. And I was on Ikkaku for 30 minutes in very hard because I could not avoid his attacks enough. That guy was flying across the map, and it was very annoying because the minute I got touched for a millisecond, I fell below 60% HP. But I enjoyed my time. I genuinely enjoyed it because it was difficult, challenging. I had to parry and dodge perfectly, not waste my stamina when flash stepping, and it was extremely fun. Now, besides that, I'm going to talk about the game modes. Now, I have a full section for the game modes right after, but I do want to say this. The content feels challenging enough in the different types of game modes that will be broken down later, obviously, for people to enjoy depending on their preference. If they want something super quick, trying to min-max the exact millisecond frame, right, to get as quick as possible, or if they just need to clear in a 3 minutes, similar to how you would have it in games like Wuthering Waves with Tower of Adversity, or also Spiral Abyss. Now, alongside that, there is hours upon genuine hours of content available, even in the beta, which I like to highlight because that means in the next beta, open beta, or in the launch, there could be even more content available. I will quickly touch finally on the team building aspect. Having only 3 units is a very nice system. I'd rather 3 because there are some game modes that require you to have 2 full sets of teams, which means you need 6 instead of 8. Now the roles are pretty clear. They even show which role they are, being either DPS, a hybrid, so basically a mix of support and DPS, doing damage but also supporting, and purebred supports. Having this distinction allows for pretty easy team building. Usually the teams that I run have 1-1-1 of each, but even in launch, one thing that I like is I'm finding myself using a variety of SR units. Now those units are basically Yachiru, Nemu, Rukia, and Orihime. Those are the 4 main SRs that I'm personally using, but I'm seeing a lot of people also use someone like Uryu. So as of right now, there are 5 really solid SRs that I've seen a lot of people using, and already having 5 is nice. And this is not even counting the fact of more team comps coming in the future, and also the fact that I haven't even tried everyone yet. Now, before moving on to the next topic of game modes, I just want to say that it seems many of the animations will be improved as we get closer to launch, like Shikai Ichigo's already have been. However, there does seem to be an imbalance in the unit quality for me, specifically in my opinion. You could disagree, that's fine, but this is my opinion. When you look at someone like Yoruichi, you could clearly tell they put more effort in compared to other units. Seeing this type of imbalance is really weird, and I just hope this can be improved as time goes on. There is already 4 different game modes with different gameplay that have honestly hooked me completely. In order, the first one is a roguelike game mode, which is extremely similar to Simulated Universe, where you collect buffs as you finish stages and then fight a big boss at the end, with a total of 50 stages that each have 6 zones. And I could say one stage could take easily 10 minutes, but sometimes even more. It will take a while to complete, especially because the stages are level locked, which is my one gripe with this game mode. I definitely think that should be taken out because it does not feel good to be locked, even if you could go higher. Just for the extra challenge, I'd like to be allowed to challenge more difficult content, for sure. Now, the second game mode is a tower game mode with 45 current floors, in where you have to fight 3 stages back to back, keeping the HP you had from the previous stage, but you are also restricted to a 3-minute timer, so you really have to make sure you don't get hit, or you have to be running around and still race against the timer. After the 5th floor, you unlock mono floors for each color, in which each of them have 10 current floors for each color. The game mode is set up to where they can easily update it whenever they want, which makes this one of the best game modes in the game, in my opinion. But my personal favorite by far is the third game mode, which is basically you trying to get as high of points as you can for certain rewards, while others are locked behind ranking rewards. As of right now, the ranking rewards are too low for me to continue to put this much time into it if it doesn't change on launch, but if it does, this game mode will be a favorite for a lot of the players, especially people who are competitive. So, half the points you earn per stage are gotten by clearing the HP bar, and the other half is by clearing quick enough. As of right now, I've probably spent close to 5 hours alone on trying to get perfect runs to be my quickest time for an even better one, as I've been able to stay in the top 1 to 5 of my group of 30. This game mode will have a lot of playtime, as there's already been 6 bosses, and they can already add some like Aizen and Grimmjow, as their animations for as a boss are already complete if they wanted to, which ensures this game mode's a long time success and very high potential playtime. The final game mode is honestly the most boring because it's just kind of a rehash of the third one. And essentially, you go up in groups as you get stronger and have to clear 2 sets of enemies with different teams and clear as fast as possible to get the highest score possible. I really need to re-say this. It does feel like a ripoff of the ranking game mode, but considering it's more than fighting one boss, it might have potential for the future, but right now I'm a bit indifferent. Besides the roguelike game mode though, the other game modes suffer one huge problem: the rewards. For example, even if you rank in the top 1%, you will only get 1/4 of a pull every week from the ranking game mode. Considering the amount of time it's taken me to stay in the top 5 of my group, this is a horrifically low amount of currency. Imagine, you spend 5 hours to stay in the top 1% over the month, and all you get is 1 pull in that month for the game mode. If this was launched, I'd be angry. But thank God it's a closed beta before an open beta before a potential another beta. If they make it into daily rewards, that immediately turns it into 7 pulls a month, which would be a lot better, especially considering you have to be in the top 1%. The story mode for me has remained the most entertaining part of this game over the course of 25 hours for a couple of reasons. Many cutscenes are very entertaining, the maps are fun to be in, and some battles are genuinely difficult and can take a while to complete. The cutscenes can be very hit or miss, but pretty much every combat cutscene is a hit. My personal favorite has become this one with White vs Ichigo. While it is not super flashy like others you've already seen in this video, the combat is really fun to watch and feels fluid, which allows me to enjoy it. However, the dialogue heavy cutscenes feel too underwhelming. In the most extreme cases, they were literally just sliding 2D arts of Orihime before she was brought to Hueco Mundo, instead of giving her a full 3D animated cutscene like she deserved. Her saying she'd end up with Ichigo in all 5 of her lives has remained one of my personal favorite scenes, but it was done incredibly dirty by the game. And due to this, I can only hope that at launch this will be changed, because it genuinely, it hurt. It really hurt to be the only voice cutscene without any movement. No animations. This is not Blue Lock Season 2. Please, please. Now, moving on from that, just genuinely just horrifying thing that I had to even watch for a minute straight. My final point of enjoyment from the story lies in the combat. Some stages are completely unique in how you fight, so even if it is easy, it still left some impression on me. Even the POV is pretty funky sometimes, which is actually fun to play through because it's different. One of the coolest parts is how connected the maps feel. While it is semi-open world, you can actually recognize a lot of maps when fighting in others. You can be fighting in some part of Soul Society, and then right below you see the map where you fought Gikku in. The maps are a really nice touch to the game that works especially well because of the IP being Bleach and us recognizing these places at least somewhat. Now, the combat does have difficult aspects. While the normal difficulty is rather easy, the very hard, as I've already talked about, has had me struggling, but in a very good way. I enjoy the difficulty. Very hard actually being very hard is actually really nice, unlike some other gachas. I really do enjoy that. Of course, my personal highlight will be the Gikku fight that I will literally never forget. It will haunt me for years because there's no way, with the best character in the game being Bankai Ichigo, I was spending 30 minutes. I had one of the best teams and I was spending 30 minutes on this damn fight because you get touched once and you're out. No 3 stars for you. I wanted that pull. And it is also unique in how they deliver combat for the bosses specifically. Bosses have their own traits and they feel really, really refreshing. For example, White will block most attacks, which is in line for his combats versus Ichigo. There's even a fight where you have to go one by one, picking up different Zanpakuto toes until you call Zangetsu's name before going to Soul Society. Byakuya is an extremely annoying person with his attack patterns, and even the Mayuri boss fight has fucking Ashi Jogi Jizo pull up in even the ranking mode. Bro, that shit was actually horrifying the first time I fought Mayuri on the final stage. Now, there is more to talk about, much more bosses actually, including the Aizen one, but I could honestly go on too long and I'm gonna move on to other points. But this is once again taking the base IP and enhancing the material, not leaning on it. with the main gacha games I've played over the 5 years, mainly being the Hoyoverse style gacha systems, this system is not far off from that. There are many parts to it that are outright better, but I'm very confused by other parts that make me think on a daily basis if this is a way better system than Genshin's gacha and other Hoyoverse gacha systems, like, in my opinion, the ones I played being Star Rail and Wuthering Waves, or if it's way worse than those. This will tie in with gear and weapons, so get ready for the info dump, and it's about to come very hard. Now, the rates are in fact way better, as we don't know if there's a soft pity. I'm only going to be using the base rates, right? So Genshin's 5-star rate is 0.6%, while this game's is 1.84%. That makes the SSR rate triple Genshin's 5-star rate for a character. And yes, there is a 50-50 system, but trust me, it is way better than what you know. Firstly, the 50-50 pity is at 80 instead of 90, but besides that, you are guaranteed to get the rate up unit by 120 pulls. The hard pity in this game is 120, but it is only one time, so whales will suffer long term, but for the free-to-play low spenders, getting that one time is gonna be amazing. If you pull the rate up early, congrats, you don't have that 120 pity anymore, but if you don't, your pity will be at 120 no matter what for Bankai Ichigo in this game instead of 160. Considering the rather high rates for the rate up being 0.92%, alongside the lower 50 pity, alongside the guaranteed one-time 120 rate up pity, it's good. To add on, the 50-50 system is essentially that there's a 50% chance for the rate up and a 50% chance for an unfeatured the first time, but if you lose the 50-50, you get the rate up guaranteed the second time. But of course, this only really matters after the guaranteed rate up 120. That's when it starts coming into play. Now, this would be a lot worse for free-to-plays if there wasn't the one-time 120 rate up pity, but this will allow people to get more units if they so wish. However, as of right now, pity transfer doesn't seem to be present, but I would argue that you shouldn't even try to build pity, and building pity is essentially code for just gambling addiction, if we're being honest, okay? Now, there are some cases in which not being able to build that pity does suck. If, for example, your favorite unit comes out, you want to do 5 multis because that's all you have, but then you get shafted, you don't get the SSR, and now you can't even build pity, then sure, I understand that, but I would like to say that planning accordingly is probably the way to go. But we'll have to see how this system plays out. I'm currently more leaning toward it's good, but can I see it as maybe a bad if there isn't a pity transfer? Sure. Now, the standard is also pretty good. There's a one-time GSSR at 50 pulls for 40 tickets as it's 20% off. And then at 300 pulls, you can select any of the standard units similarly to how it is in Honkai Star Rail. Now, one thing I dislike is that there's a weapon standard banner, but it doesn't share the same pull tickets as the character standard, so I hope that's changed like in Wuthering Waves, because I'd honestly rather use the character standard tickets for the weapon banner in a lot of cases, and I hate that it's 2 different tickets for 2 standard banners. It should just be 1. And now we get into the big point of contention for everyone. This game has flaws in the overall gacha system that might be scary long term if it isn't fixed accordingly. I need to preface, they have already been on record saying the gacha system will be changed for the better because they know people disliked it. They made a whole dev note, put that in as one of the main talking points, and also in the surveys, when you say you don't like the gacha system, they say, oh, we have seen this a lot, we have gotten this a lot, please tell us why. So they are literally acknowledging that many players do not like it and are asking for our direct feedback on that point. Of course, in surveys, they always say, why don't you like X thing or Y thing? But they directly state, oh, this has been a common reoccurring thing from many players. Many players do not like it, and they are aware and are communicating to us the fact that they are aware, so this will probably be changed. Now, why is it so bad? There's both weapon stamps and unique gear pieces in this game for every SSR and SR character that are exclusive to only the character they can belong to, and almost always add new skills to the unit. For example, Ichigo's weapon stamp allows his branch attack to add 2 more clones, which is super strong because it not only adds extra damage, essentially tripling it, but also makes it like a vortex, which facilitates farming, which many people are saying, yeah, you probably want to go for the weapon probably for this skill. His exclusive gear allows him to use his parry attack in his ultimate even without having to parry, which also does a lot of damage. Now, this is alongside also giving them extra passives, increasing their stats and increasing their damage from just the base stats that they're getting, but they're also adding skills, right? I'm not a fan of this. If I'm being honest, I really just am not. Because right now you're restricting skills behind Gacha. You're limiting parts of the kit behind Gacha to summon, especially when you need to summon for 2 pieces, right? There was an exclusive skill behind Ichigo's weapon stamp and the exclusive gear piece. Now, the problem with kind of all the negativity is that the rate is very high. The SSR rate on this banner is 2.16%, and the guarantee is 100% chance for one of the two at 70 pity, and I believe it making only the 5-star gear or the 6-star gear or SSR weapon stamp you select depending on which that one only. So let's say you were supposed to get a weapon stamp and you chose on your pity weapon stamp, you will guaranteed get the rate up weapon stamp. But if you were supposed to get a gear, it's 1 out of 6 chance in that case, right? It's just the fact that you need both of them that makes it very rough, because you need to get the unit and both of them to complete a unit. And if you don't have the rates on your side, it could be really rough. In a lot of cases, you will complete a unit exclusive items alongside the character much earlier than the average Hoyover system. However, if you do get really unlucky, it would take you 270 pulls if you hard pity everything instead of 230 in, I believe, Wuthering Waves' case. I don't even consider Genshin. I don't even know if Genshin's Gacha has improved, but I don't really want to check. Essentially, the rates are higher. Pity technically is higher due to needing 2 things from the weapon banner, even if the pity is lower. The fact that you need 2 of these items makes it higher. Like I said, this is most likely going to be changed as the devs have addressed this multiple times already, but I think it's important to bring up to see how this ends up, because having to summon for 3 different things for 1 unit to fully complete it is just not right. This game has certain flaws, but the devs have already shown to be listening to all the current problems players have. They have already asserted that the gacha would be changed, said they would increase the quality of the game, and even gave comments on PvP. While people want PvP, the devs said that so far they haven't been able to succeed and are now focusing on other things. I think this type of communication is a good sign, and I'm fine with letting the game cook before thinking of PvP. There are some things I left out, as I either believe I have a completely neutral standpoint on, or I already know they will be fixed. I think the game has a lot of room for improvement, and they have enough time to fix the things that really matter for the game to be good enough. The closed beta is coming to a close soon, but I honestly really enjoyed my time and cannot wait for the open beta in May. If you're a Bleach fan, it is 100% worth it. I'm excited for us to all share the excitement of playing the game and hope to see you guys for that time. Till then, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.